welcome back into the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast. I am Brandon Jadich. We got a lot to talk about today, as usual. We're going to go through some of the weekend review that we just had, and then the week preview, along with some bracketology in the middle. We're going to talk about some of the big results that just went on, including some of the bubble matchups. Yes, of course, we're going to talk about the court storming the whole dilemma going on with that. We're going to talk about some of the teams trending in the wrong way, some in the right way. We're going to talk about some teams specifically on the bubble just eating themselves alive. The entire bubble just seems to keep losing, bringing in teams like Wake Forest in the Indiana states to squeeze into our bracketology. We're going to show you our bracketology graphic that was just updated. Then, of course, we'll talk about some of the games to watch this weekend. Before we get into all this, let's talk about our poll question. While you're down there, before we answer the poll question, give us a like and subscribe while you're down there, whether it's on video or audio. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We appreciate that all, continuing to grow this. While you're down there, smashing that like button, comment on the poll. Today's poll question: which team will end up, not right now, will end up being the fourth number one seed? It's fairly obvious the first three number one seeds, unless there's a debacle, will be Houston, Purdue, and UConn in whichever order that may be. As of right now, it's probably Purdue, UConn, then Houston. But who will be that fourth number one seed? Our options are North Carolina, Arizona, Tennessee, or other. Maybe you think someone like a Marquette might sneak in there, or even a Kansas or Iowa State. Let us know. If you comment other, let us know who you think. North Carolina, Arizona, Tennessee, or other. Remember, while you're down there, smash that like button. We really appreciate it. All right, let's dive right into it. Let's go through some. We got four big games we want to talk about. Then we'll just quickly go through some of the bubble results that have some big implications on who may be in the tournament. Let's start with that whole court storming debacle. Let's start with number eight Duke going to Wake Forest. Now, Wake Forest, let's talk about the game first. Wake Forest picked up the win that they needed, 83-79. This gets Wake Forest into the tournament. For us, as of right now, we currently have them as a 10 seed. Hunter Salas went off, 29 points, 11 of 13 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3. Incredible stuff. That's why the transfer portal is great. Hunter Salas transferring from Gonzaga, where he wasn't playing, and is leading this Wake Forest team to a potential tournament berth. You don't want to take away what Wake Forest did in this game. It was incredible, but the court storming incident it was the headline. It was the headline of this game, even though Wake Forest, they picked up a huge win to get them in the tournament as of now. Now, of course, I'm sure everyone's seen the video. Kyle Filipowski seemed to get injured at the end because the Wake Forest students were coming in with less than, there was still time on the clock. They did it too soon before anyone could get off the court. And Kyle Filipowski went off limping. It's an apparent knee injury. Haven't really heard on how bad it may be, if he's to miss games or not. But it was a big controversy. And then John Shire in the press conference, I give a lot of credit to John Shire in this situation. You can be really upset, and yes, he said he's like, where's the line drawn? Where does this end? But he did continue to say, he's like, I don't want to take this away from Wake Forest. This is a huge win for Wake Forest. They beat a blue blood program, a top 10 blue blood program. Wake Forest played great. Hunter Salas deserves all the credit in the world. Yet it's being overshadowed by this whole court storming incident. And then even John Shire, he continued to go on and on about how just great of a win it is for Wake Forest. But then he did bring up some examples where he's like, this has to change. I'm 50-50 on it personally. I love the court storming. I think it's what makes college basketball special. These fans are the friends of the teammates. I mean, you win a big game, you're hanging out with your friends after, and these people all know each other. Something's going to have to change, though. You can't have, we saw the Caitlin Clark thing. We saw the Kyle Filipowski now. But something's going to have to change. I think they should just let the players get off the court. I know it's easier said than done. You're so excited when that game's over, but give them 20 seconds to get off the court. Blue blood programs, you go to a blue blood program, you shouldn't be risking an injury by every time Duke loses on the road. They're pretty much going to get court stormed. Same goes for Kansas, North Carolina, all those huge teams. But we saw it with UConn losing at Creighton the other day, and I love it. I love the visual. I love the court storming visual. It's so cool. It's like I said, it's what college basketball is. But you just need to take 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Just let them go through the handshake line. Let John Shire congratulate Steve Forbes and Wake Forest. Let them handshake, and then everyone come in and have a party at the center court. I don't think you can ban court storming. I mean, you can put out some serious consequences, but it's still like, even if you ban court storming, you're gonna look up, and when someone beats a Purdue, no matter what, there's gonna end up being a court storming, no matter how hard you change it. And yes, you can say you can arrest every student, but are you gonna arrest 1,000 people? I don't know. It's a very gray area right now, but you love to see Wake Forest celebrate after a win. But if they just would have waited 20 more seconds, it would have been perfectly fine. There would have been no controversy. We saw the same thing with Caitlin Clark. Something's going to have to change, but it's a huge win for Wake Forest. Don't let the whole court storming dilemma take away from the fact that they just beat number 8 Duke, and that this is their quad one win that gets them in the tournament as of right now. We know the metrics really love them. They're in the 20s in the net, 20s in KenPom, but they lacked those quad one wins. They had the one over Florida, and now this one over Duke, a quad 1A win. It really helps. Currently have Wake Forest as a 10 seed. We'll see. We'll see what happens going on. There's been a lot of controversy. I know Gary Parrish over at CBS been saying a lot of stuff. You got to ban court storming out. Just about every analysis seems to ban court storming. Yet as a college student, I'm still a college student. I love watching the visual. Uh, it's a tough area. We'll see what the NCAA comes out saying. Great win, Wake Forest. Let's not take it away from them. Moving on. Number 2, Houston went to number 11 Baylor. We got to talk about this game. It was a top 11 matchup. Houston won the game 82-76 in overtime. It was just a tale of 3 halves. Houston dominated the first half. Baylor dominated the second half, and Houston dominated overtime. It was a crazy last couple seconds of regulation. Eves Missy got an and one down low to tie the game up. Missed the free throw. There was a couple seconds left. Jamal Shed came down, knocked down like a 30-footer, which looked like it won the game, but it was about zero point 0.1 seconds too late. I mean, it was incredible. Did still win the game in overtime, so it didn't really end up mattering, but that would have been a pretty highlighted shot there. Jamal Shed, Emmanuel Sharp, Roberts, LJ Cryer all had 12 plus points. This Houston offense is starting to come together, and we know how good they are on defense. Yeah, they held Baylor to 76 points in overtime. That's 45 minutes instead of 40 minutes, and Baylor is one of the prolific offenses in the nation. This Houston team is dominant. They do not think that they can't score the ball, because they can, and they obviously are the best defense in the country. They're going to be number 1 in the AP poll when it comes out here in just about an hour. We're filming this about 11 o'clock. It'll be I fully expect them to be number 1. Got to give a shout out to Jacoby Walter though. He went off in this game. He played 43 of the 45 minutes. He had 23 points, 5 threes. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be in the NBA next year. I would lean him or Rob Dillingham being the most explosive freshman in the country. I know Reed Shepherd's great, but I mean, Rob Dillingham and Jacoby Walter just have that ability about them that they just get the job done. I mean, this was the most points scored for an individual player on Baylor this year, 23 points, which seems low, but that's how good Houston's defense is. But Jacoby Walter, I mean, every time I watch this guy, he gets better and better. He just impresses me. He makes contested shots. He creates his own shot. He's going to be very good at the next level. I expect him to be a top 5 draft pick without a doubt. Speaking of Rob Dillingham, let's move on to the Kentucky Wildcats, and I hope everyone tuned into this game. This was incredible to watch. 117-95, number 17 Kentucky beat number 13 Alabama. Imagine scoring 95 points and you get beat by 22. That is crazy. I mean, it almost seemed like Calipari just told his guys, I mean, you're not going to stop this Alabama offense. They're number 1 at KenPom. They're the best offense in the nation for sure. Now Kentucky might have something to say about that after this game, but yeah, home game. It's not gonna influence the metrics as much as you might think. But you knew you're not gonna stop this Alabama offense, especially with Kentucky struggling on defense. It just kind of seemed to me like he went out and told his guys, he said, "Hey, go outscore them. Just don't think about anything. Just go out there, freaking shoot, and outscore them." And they did. 117 points, and this was. I mean, they had like 113 points with a couple minutes left. Like, it could have gotten into the 125, 130 range. I mean, they just went out and just dominated. Justin Edwards, how about him? He was top 5 recruit coming into this year. He was expected to be a top 5 draft pick for sure, and then he really fell off. He's really been struggling. He came to his potential in this one. 28 points, 10 of 10 shooting, 4 of 4 from 3. He didn't miss. It was impressive. Smooth lefty shot. We compared him a lot to James Young, if you remember James Young from Kentucky. He never really panned out in the NBA, but Justin Edwards, this will improve his draft stock for sure. Antonio Reeves, he added 26. Rob Dillingham added 16 off the bench. And then how about Zvonimir Ivisic? 18 points in only 20 minutes. He wasn't playing much. And then, as I said, it just seemed like Calipari's like, hey, I'm putting in my best offensive guys and just letting them cook. And Ivisic did 18 points, 20 minutes, almost a point a minute. Kentucky shot 63% from the field, 54% from three. Alabama is still probably, we have them as a 3 seed right now. Their defense is just horrendous, though. I mean, same with Kentucky, honestly. I mean, Kentucky dominated this game, but they still allowed 95 points on their home court. But Alabama's defense is just as bad as Kentucky. I mean, I actually think I trust Kentucky to outscore teams more than Alabama just because of, I mean, they have so many options, where so does Alabama. I mean, they're very close. Alabama has an incredible offense. As we mentioned, it's one of the best we've ever seen. But Kentucky just has that firepower. I mean, they've got Antonio Reeves can get a bucket whenever he wants. So can Rob Dillingham. Now with Ivisic knocking down threes. I mean, big body. The key part is Justin Edwards. If he plays like even just a first round draft pick, just does half of what he did in this game, shoot 5 of 10, 2 of 4 from three, this team will still be incredibly good. I still would like to see it on the defensive end, but hey, Calipari did a good job here to just get his guys going and put up 117 points on a very bad Alabama defense. Kentucky probably back up into they were probably down to like a 6, hovering on the 6-7 line after that loss at LSU. Now they're probably back up into the 5 seed. This is a quad 1A win. Alabama's like 6th in the net right now, believe it or not, even with that horrible defense. But metrics love them. Alabama hasn't lost a game that they should have won. And no, yeah, good win for Kentucky. John Calipari got his squad back on. Now, from just an incredibly high scoring game to an incredibly low scoring game. The other game going on at that time, these games were both at 4 o'clock. Hopefully you watched the Kentucky Alabama game instead of North Carolina Virginia, because that game was a lot more entertaining. Let me tell you, North Carolina, number 10 team in the nation, went and beat Virginia 54-44 at Virginia. I mean, Virginia's offense is just horrible. This is one of the worst offenses I've ever seen in my life. For North Carolina, though, this kind of proved that. I mean, North Carolina only scored 54. Yeah, Virginia does have a great defense, so like it evens out. Obviously, this is just the style they play. They slow it down. But this just kind of proved that North Carolina can win these ugly games. I mean, R.J. Davis had his worst game of the year. Cormac Ryan really stepped up big for North Carolina, though. 6 threes, 18 points. Virginia's last 3 games, they've scored 49. They won that game against Wake Forest, 49-47. They scored 41, and now they scored 44. Yikes, they can't get above 50. With this win, North Carolina is going to replace Arizona as the last number 1 seed. Virginia falling down to the first 4 as of right now. Losses against Virginia Tech, loss at home against North Carolina. Yes, it's North Carolina, but this team's metrics and resume are not great. We have them down. We have them in the first 4 games right now. They're on serious bubble watch right now. The other game that went on was Texas at number 9, Kansas. Just got to mention this game quickly. Kansas was without Kevin McCullough, yet they won the game 86-67, final score. All 5 starters were in double figures. This is just what we want to mention real quick, including Nick Timberlake. Nick Timberlake started. He had a monster poster of a dunk, if you didn't see that. Hunter Dickinson still led, 20 points, but this shows that this is big for Nick Timberlake to kind of be that 6th guy. Obviously, Johnny Furphy's been great. They need that one guy coming off the bench. Marco Jackson has not been good whatsoever, especially with Kevin McCullough's injury not known. He said Bill Selfs came out and said he's probably not going to play the next game either. Might be held off until postseason play. This injury obviously a little bit worse than we thought it might have been, but even without Kevin McCullough, probably their best player, we can add. They still just dominate Texas. Texas just refuses to play to their potential. They've got a ton of talent, yet they just can't put it together this year. Rough season for Texas. Still on the 8 line as of right now. They keep losing games, but that's the beauty of being in the Big 12. You're losing at Kansas. It's not going to hurt you too much, excuse me. Moving on to some of the bubbly games we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about at least one of these teams in every single one of these games are on the bubble, starting with Texas A&M visiting number 5 Tennessee. Remember earlier in the year, Texas A&M beat up on Tennessee at home, but now Tennessee just took it to them, 86-51, the final score. Just a disappointing season for Texas A&M. A lot of people's pick to win the conference this year. Wade Taylor has just been shooting at an incredibly inefficient rate. 3 of 12 in this one. Tyrese Radford, 4 of 16. His team just fires up ugly shots. They just rely on these two guys way too much. Rough game for Texas A&M. Dalton Connect, probably All-American right now, had 24 for Tennessee. He continues to be incredible. Let's move on. Villanova, unfortunately for them, had to go to a UConn team that just got beat by Creighton. So you knew Dan Hurley was going to have UConn ready. Number 1 team in the nation, beat Villanova 78-54. Tristan Newton, triple-double, 10 points, 16 rebounds for a point guard, 10 assists, incredible game. This might have just locked up him as Big East Player of the Year. Cam Spencer also added 25 points in this one. Villanova in our first 4 out as of right now. Number 25, BYU, went to Kansas State. Kansas State picked up a huge win, 84-74. They needed this win bad. They're still not yet. They're considered. They're not in one of the next 4 out or anything like that. They'll probably need to go win 3 of their last 4, and those are against West Virginia. They get them at home, so that's fine. Should win that one. Then at Cincinnati. Cincinnati also one of those teams fighting for a spot. All right, you might steal one out there, but then they got to go at Kansas. Remember, Kansas lost at Kansas State this year. They're not going to win that game, and then they do. Then they go back home to take on Iowa State. That Iowa State game, if they beat West Virginia and Cincinnati, they might need to beat Iowa State on their home court, and they might squeeze in. They might squeeze in with 3 of 4. I'd say it's about 50-50 if they win 3 of 4. It's obviously a tough ask. If they lose at Cincinnati, I think they're about done unless they were to go into Allen Fieldhouse and win, which no one does. So Kansas State hanging on by a thread, but not liking their chances. Staying in the Big 12, Cincinnati at TCU, and TCU beat them 75-57. Speaking of Cincinnati, they're close to being done. They're in our next 4 out. The bubble continue. Every time you think someone's done, the bubble teams just keep losing. But they're really trending in the wrong direction right now. 16-11 on the year. For TCU though, TCU is a little bit slept on. They're currently 4th in the Big 12. They have an incredible roster. This is one of those sleeper teams to kind of look out for a little bit, if I say so myself. Moving on, number 20, South Carolina went to Ole Miss and beat them 72-59, breaking their 2-game losing skid. Good for South Carolina getting back on track. Chris Beard's Ole Miss team starting to go the wrong way. They're losing games that they're needing to win. They just lost the big one at Mississippi State. Now this loss at home to South Carolina, starting to hurt their resume. They're out of the bracket as of right now. Butler went to Seton Hall. Seton Hall picked up a win, 76-64. This gets Seton Hall in the tournament as of right now. Seton Hall, they started off the Big East season great. Obviously, they had a little bit of a rough stretch in the middle, but they're winning games again. They're looking good. That was big part of that is getting Kadary Richmond back. He is so good. They're in the tournament right now for us. Where they actually have a bye. They're not even in a first 4 game. Seton Hall continuing to play well. Very good stuff over there. Now Utah went to Colorado. Colorado killed them, 89-65. Utah stinks. Utah is not good. Their metrics are weirdly decent in their resume. They hadn't lost any like really bad games, but they're just not very good. They're trending in the wrong direction. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even end up in the next 4 out. Honestly, that's where we have them right now. But they're just not very good, unfortunately. Colorado though, they're a first team out as of right now, so they're playing for a lot in their next couple games. Got a lot of talent. We've talked about it, but kind of a rough Pac-12 stretch. But they're still close. We'll see how it does. They're currently just a little bit ahead of Utah, but we'll see how both these teams fare going forward. Now, a couple just what are you doings? You can't lose these games. What are you doing? First one will cut some slack. Number 21, Washington State went to Arizona State, a bad Arizona State team, may I mention, and got beat 73-61. Washington State just went into Arizona and beat Arizona. a little bit of a hangover after that game, staying at Arizona State. I mean, Arizona beat Arizona State by like 45, didn't they? Or 25, or it was something 535. So they killed them, whatever it was. But these wins just kind of balance each other out. Huge win, obviously, over Arizona. And then that hangover loss, just like where we saw with Creighton yesterday against St. John's. We'll talk about that game here in a second. But a game that just flew under the radar, and it's like, oh my goodness, you can't lose that game. Air Force went into the pit and beat New Mexico 78-77. New Mexico, I mean, you got to just hold off the bad. Air Force is not a good basketball team, not even close to being a good basketball team, honestly. New Mexico just going the wrong direction. We have them in our first four. We actually have them playing Virginia as of right now. This is just rough. This is, if you win this game, like you're comfortably in, but you just can't drop these awful losses. This is I think it's a quad. It's either quad 3 or quad 4. I haven't even looked. It just so surprising, but rough stuff there from New Mexico. Staying in the Mountain West, number 22 Colorado State went and visited UNLV. UNLV won 66-60. UNLV is sneakily really good. They're a solid team. They're actually ahead of New Mexico and Colorado State in the standings. They're 5th in the Mountain West. We talked about the core 6. Yeah, Colorado State's down at 7th. New Mexico 6th. UNLV 5th. I mean, they're hanging in there. If they didn't have such a rough non-conference schedule or non-conference resume, they'd be close. But UNLV, another one of those teams that they got blitzed by Air Force earlier in the year. Air Force might be the best team in the country for all we know. But yeah, kind of a rough non-conference schedule for UNLV. But they're probably not going to squeeze in. But the Mountain West tournament is in Las Vegas this year, so a little bit of a home court advantage there. You never know. Maybe squeeze in, make it a 7-bid Mountain West. That'd be pretty fun to see. But good win for UNLV. Colorado State kind of fading a little bit. Grand Canyon picked up their second loss in a row, losing at Abilene Christian, 79-73. Abilene Christian is that team that beat Texas a couple years ago, but they're sub 500 this year. They're not that same team. This kind of killed Grand Canyon's slight chances at large hopes already. Don't really have a shot at that anymore, but I still fully expect them to win the WAC. They're hitting a little bit of a skid right now, but both games on the road. They lost at Tarleton, and then now they're losing at Abilene Christian. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll still win the WAC. I'm hoping. Now, one game we just got to mention real quick. Oklahoma went and beat Oklahoma State in overtime, 84-82, thanks to a Javion McCullum buzzer beater. It was an incredible shot. It was pretty cool to see. Go check that out if you haven't seen that one. Good stuff there by Javion McCullum. Oklahoma currently, we have them as an 8 seed right now, so good stuff from them this year. Porter Mosier's squad. Now, I mentioned we were going to talk about that Creighton St. John's game. Let's talk about some of the Sunday games. Only a few of them we're going to talk about. Number 15 Creighton, after demolishing number 1 UConn, went to St. John's and got beat 80-66, and the picture went viral of Rick Pitino's just white suit, white from head to toe. It was a pretty cool look. This at least gives St. John's a little bit of a chance of an at-large. They're still on the outside looking in, but they have a ton of work to do. They'll probably have to win out, but good start, good win for at least something to build upon a little bit. Now, Ohio State went at Michigan State and won 60-57 thanks to a Dale Bonner buzzer beater. It was incredible. I mean, Jake Diebler took over, and they beat Purdue at home. Then they lost at Minnesota. That's okay. Minnesota's good. Then they go into Michigan State, number 4 team in the preseason AP poll, and beat them on a buzzer beater. Someone get Jake Diebler a job somewhere. He's probably not going to be the Ohio State coach next year, but get him somewhere in a mid-major program. Let him build himself up. He's done a terrific job. The guys obviously like him. Ohio State does not have an at-large resume at all. But hey, this is something to build on a little bit. Jake Diebler doing a phenomenal job there. Really love to see it. Michigan State, on the other hand, trending in the wrong direction. They're losing games they should not be losing. Remember, they lost to Iowa at home earlier in the week. Now Ohio State. They're two probably bottom half teams of the Big Ten. Michigan State trending downward, still in the tournament as one of our last 4 byes right now, but hanging on a little bit by a thread there. Now, FAU, Florida Atlantic, went to Memphis and got beat 78-74. Memphis starting to get back on track a little bit. FAU is not as good as they were last year. Last year was just a miracle season. They're quite frankly not as good. Memphis, their resume is not good enough for an at-large. I mean, they lost so many games that they should not have lost. We still have FAU in. This is not a horrible loss. It's at Memphis. We'll see how it goes when Memphis visits FAU here in a couple weeks. FAU we still have as a 9 seed, but they're also hanging on by a thread. It's close. Now the other game out of the American, SMU was favored at USF, and the books have not learned their lesson. USF is been underdogs in a ton of games in a row, yet they keep winning. They won this one 79-68. Memphis and FAU, and maybe even throw SMU in North Texas in there, were supposed to be the teams to beat in the American this year. USF has a 3-game lead. They're 14-1. FAU is 11-4. I mean, they have a 3-game lead in the American. It's done. USF, they're going to be the regular season American champs. Incredible stuff. Congratulations to Amir Abdur-Rahim. He's got to be up there for Coach of the Year. Throw him in the conversation right now. Doing incredible stuff. Last game we want to talk about just quickly. Minnesota went to Nebraska. Nebraska beat them 73-55. This might do it for Minnesota. They might be officially done. Nebraska, they're climbing up. They're moving up in terms of seeding. We have them up to a 9 seed, actually close to an 8 seed, believe it or not. I think they're our second 9 seed as of right now, but they're doing good stuff over there. That's all the results we're going to talk about from the weekend. Very busy weekend. Next, we're going to dive into the bracketology and some games to watch. For this upcoming week, we always talk about 16 games to check out Monday through Friday. But first, a quick word from our partner. Let's start with Amazon. If you're like me, you got to have the best golf ball. But it is hard to find Pro V1s. They're always sold out at Dick's. They're always sold out at Golf Galaxy. But now, you can order Pro V1s directly to your door through Amazon. Why fight traffic? Why fight crowds when you can have them delivered right to your house? Everyone knows Amazon is the leader in delivery service, so why not just hop on the trend? It's easy, convenient, guaranteed quick delivery. Stay on your couch, use the link in the description to order Pro V1s or any other golf equipment or anything else in the world you desire. Ordered directly to your door. Go check it out, Amazon. Link in bio. Let's talk about eBay. The weather is starting to get warm. As we mentioned, it's golf season. What a better way to start off your golf season than with brand new equipment. It's late February, it's almost March. That means the weather's getting warm. That means the snow is melting, the golf courses are opening. Save up to 50% off golf equipment with eBay. Don't miss out on this deal. Check out the link in the description to get up to 50% off eBay. Link in the description, check it out, up to 50% off. All right. Moving into our bracketology, we're going to talk about we'll talk about the 1 through 5 seeds, just briefly mention their name. Then the last 4 buys, first four out, next 4 out. We want to talk about the bubble specifically. The 1 seeds, the overall number 1 seed is still Purdue. Purdue has the most quad 1 wins in the nation, and also, or tied for the most quad 1 wins in the nation, and they're also undefeated in quadrant 2. They're undefeated in quadrant 3, undefeated in quadrant 4, with more quad 2 wins than UConn and Houston. So they're the number 1 overall seed. Not saying they're the best team in the nation. That's a debate for Purdue, UConn, and Houston, whoever you may think. But they do have the best body of work right now. UConn is second, the second 1 seed. Houston next. They're the top 3 seeds, without a doubt. And then, as we mentioned, North Carolina did move into the 4th number 1 seed as of right now. First 2 seed, we currently have Tennessee, then Arizona dropping to that 2 line, then Kansas and Marquette. 3 seeds, Iowa State. Alabama stayed at a 3 seed, so did Creighton, even with that loss at St. John's. And then Duke is our last 3 seed. 4 seeds, Duke, the last 3 seed. Baylor, Illinois, Auburn, San Diego State still hanging on in there. Then the 5 seeds, we do have Dayton, Clemson, Wisconsin, Kentucky. Now some of these are obviously subject to change. Dayton we do still have as the 5 seed. I know they've been struggling as of late, but they haven't really done that much to hurt their resume. They got a big game coming up. We'll talk about that here in a second. Let's get into our bubble watch. We mentioned Michigan State, one of our last 4 buys. They're currently a 10 seed. So is Wake Forest moving in, and Gonzaga. Gonzaga I did not think was going to be in the tournament, but the bubble just keeps eating itself, and Gonzaga, playing in the weak West Coast Conference, just keeps beating teams that they should. And then Seton Hall is our last buy. They're currently an 11 seed for us. And then our first 4, The games we're going to talk about would be Virginia versus New Mexico. Virginia, New Mexico, both teams starting to fall. Who would win that game? And then Providence and Indiana State. We have Indiana State because Drake is now our automatic qualifier from the Missouri Valley. It is now Indiana State who is getting an at-large bid because teams just keep losing. First four out, Colorado moved up into they're now our first team out overall. Texas A&M, Villanova, Ole Miss, all next, all took losses. And then Butler, the first team in our next four out. Utah, Cincinnati, all took losses. And then James Madison, slowly but surely moving themselves up a little bit. We do have App State as the automatic qualifier out of the Sun Belt, so that brings James Madison as an at-large bid. They're close. They got a great record. Their strength of record's obviously very high, but a lot of these teams, as we mentioned, Colorado won, which moved them up. Texas A&M, Villanova, Ole Miss, Butler, Utah, Cincinnati, all lost. So it's just changing consistently. I mean, obviously it's going to be a crazy next couple weeks. We'll see how much things change. All right, let's move into our games to watch. We got games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let's start with Big Monday. That is tonight. This is a later podcast than we usually do. Usually release it in the morning, but doing some bracketology stuff this morning. So this is the games to watch tonight. Starting at 7 o'clock on Big Monday, Miami visits number 10 North Carolina, obviously on ESPN for Big Monday. North Carolina favored by 13.5 at FanDuel. Big line there. I'm still taking North Carolina cover 13.5. I mean, Miami is horrible. They are spiraling. They just lost to Georgia Tech, by the way, at home. May I mention they're done. Their season's over. They are disappointing this year. The big game though is at 9 o'clock, where currently number 11 Baylor visits TCU. TCU might jump into the rankings. We'll see. They did lose earlier in the week, but we'll see how they do. Baylor will probably drop a little bit, but TCU is favored by 2.5, obviously on ESPN. 2.5 via FanDuel. I think I'm taking TCU to win this game. As I mentioned, I am in on TCU. I think they got some serious talent there. Emmanuel Miller, Tennyson, they got a squad this year. We'll see. We'll see how they perform against this powerful Baylor offense coming off of a loss. Remember TCU? This was one of the games of the year. TCU beat Baylor at Baylor in triple overtime earlier in the year. So at TCU, I think TCU gets the job done here. But Baylor has been getting better, but so is TCU. We'll see. That should be a fun matchup. Tuesday and Wednesday both have loaded slates. Let's start on Tuesday at 7 o'clock with Cincinnati in desperation mode. And unfortunately, they have to go visit who should be the number one team in the nation in a couple minutes here, honestly. Houston, this game's on ESPN2. Houston favored by 14 via KenPom. I think Cincinnati stays within the number. I think they stay within 14. But I don't see them beating Houston. But Houston just maybe a little hangover win. I think Cincinnati covers 14. They're in desperation mode. I think obviously Houston wins the game. But give me Cincinnati cover 14 in that one. Also at 7 o'clock, number 17 Kentucky goes and visits Mississippi State. Mississippi State favored by 2. This game is on ESPN. Mississippi State is quietly having a very good year. They're up to an 8 seed for us in our bracketology, as you might have noted on that latest graphic. I'll take Mississippi State to win this game. We saw Kentucky just refuses to win 2 games in a row. I think Mississippi State gets the job done in this one. Give me them -2. At 8 o'clock, our only ranked-on-ranked matchup, and it's on ESPN Plus, unfortunately. Number 25 BYU visits number 9 Kansas, though BYU will most definitely drop out of the rankings, so it will not be ranked-on-ranked, I guess, by the time you hear this. But Kansas favored by 4, and is that the most free money I've ever heard in my life? This line will not be 4. It'll probably be like 6.5 or 7.5, honestly. But give me Kansas for sure, -4. Don't expect Kevin McCullough to play, but I'm not high on BYU, and Kansas at home is as unbeatable as they come. Give me Kansas -4. At 9 o'clock, Texas goes and visits number 25 Texas Tech. Texas Tech favored by 4. This game is on ESPN. I'm waiting for Texas to live up to their potential. I'm going to take them in this one once again. +4. Oh man, they just refuse to play the kind of ball that they could. I'm not that high on Texas Tech. I think Texas might. I've said it before. I think they get the job done, and they just don't. I'll still take them. You never know. At 10:30, Nevada goes and visits number 22 Colorado State. Colorado State favored by 5. This game's on FS1. Colorado State -5. They've been spiraling a little bit. They have a very good home court advantage. I think this is kind of a get-right game. I think they get it done. I'll take Colorado State -5. On Wednesday, this is the big one. This is the big day. At 7 o'clock, this is the best game we'll talk about. Number 14, Auburn goes and visits number 5, Tennessee. This game's on ESPN2. Tennessee only favored by 3 via KenPom. Take Tennessee to cover the 3 in this game. They just dominated Texas A&M. I expect them to dominate Auburn. I think Auburn's overrated. I'm just going to say it out loud. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I'm taking Tennessee to cover the 3. At 7 o'clock, Providence goes and visits number 7, Marquette. Marquette favored by 9. This game's on FS1. Feels like a big line. Providence did beat them earlier in the year. 9 points, that seems like a lot. I think I'll take Providence to cover the 9 in that one. 8 o'clock, Oklahoma goes and visits number 6, Iowa State. This game's on ESPN+. Feel like we haven't talked a lot about Iowa State. They just played West Virginia. That does a little bit of it. That's not a very highlighted game, but I'll take Iowa State to cover the 7 in this game. Haven't heard much from them. Oklahoma, they're good. They're also not great, and I think that's kind of known. They'll be on the 8 or 9 line. At 8:30, number 20, South Carolina goes and visits Texas A&M minus, who is favored by 2. This game's on SEC Network. Remember, these are Wednesday games. This is at 8:30. Texas A&M, if you're thinking of betting a Texas A&M game, I would highly advise against that because you don't know what Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford are going to show up. South Carolina's defense is great. Texas A&M offense can be great. It also can be awful. I would stay away from this game, but just because of South Carolina's defense, I think there was a get-right game against Ole Miss. I would probably take South Carolina in this one, just because I'm so disappointed in Texas A&M this year, quite frankly. Must-win game for both teams at 8:30, St. John's at Butler. This game's on CBS Sports Network. Butler's favored by 1. Very close one here. Both teams, if they lose this game, they're done. Their at-large is about done. I think I'll take Butler just because of the home court advantage in this one, but it is a 50-50 game. This line is 1. It'll probably be a pick'em game by the end of it. I'll take Butler, but I'm not confident in it. This is a must-win game. It should be an electric environment there, though. At 9 o'clock, Minnesota goes and visits number 12, Illinois. Illinois favored by 11. This game's on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota needs this win if they have any chance of picking up an at-large bid. Going to Illinois. Illinois, we mentioned on the last podcast, if you didn't hear, they have one of the most overrated resumes in college basketball. They haven't really lost anyone that they should have won, or that they shouldn't lose to, I guess. But their best win's FAU, and FAU is just, that's kind of what put them on the map, and they've just kind of spiraled down a little bit. I'll take Minnesota to cover the 11 because of the desperation. And this, if there's a chance to go in and beat a team, I think it could be at Illinois. I think Illinois wins. I still think Illinois is a good team, but I'll take Minnesota to cover the 11 in that game. But that should be an exciting matchup. At 9 o'clock, number 13, Alabama goes and visits Ole Miss. This game's on ESPN2. Alabama favored by 7 via KenPom. Tough line here at Ole Miss, but Alabama's offense just too good. I think this Ole Miss team just not quite there yet. I'll take Alabama to cover the 7. Not too confidently, though. At 9 o'clock, Seton Hall goes and visits number 15, Creighton. Creighton favored by 9. This game's on FS1. Seton Hall's been rolling as of late, yet I do think I'll take Creighton to cover the 9 in this game, just coming off of a loss. They might dominate at home. Seton Hall's been rolling, though, but Creighton's got that firepower. Baylor Shireman, he had a rough game against St. John's, but he'll be back. He'll be fine. I'll take Creighton to cover in that game. Now we're going to talk about one game on Thursday, one game on Friday. The Thursday game we have to mention is Gonzaga. Now, unfortunately, this is at 11 o'clock. It's an 11 o'clock Eastern time. Not going to stay up for it. It's really not worth it. I don't think Gonzaga is that good. I've been saying it all year. I don't think they have the talent this year. They don't have the scorers. They are favored by 3. They're going at San Francisco. This is a must-win game for Gonzaga because this is a quad 1 opportunity. They have to win this game. If they don't win this game, I don't think they have a chance of getting an at-large bid. It is a must-win game, so it should be fun to see. But San Francisco is going to come out firing. They want to be the team to break that streak, break Mark Few's streak of being in the NCAA tournament. That's a must-watch game at 11 o'clock. It's late, but it'll be a fun one. On Friday, the one game we're going to talk about, number 16, Dayton. This game's at 9 o'clock, goes and visits Loyola Chicago. You wouldn't think Loyola Chicago, because of their history of the last couple years, would be a team flying under the radar, but they are. They're in first place in the A-10 this year. Sister Jean, they're doing well. This game's on ESPN2. Dayton is favored by 3. Give me Loyola Chicago. They're flying under the radar. It's going to be electric at home. Everyone seems to just not really be mentioning Loyola Chicago, but the Loyola Chicago fan base sure knows that they got a squad this year. I think that environment's going to be electric. I'm taking Loyola Chicago in this one. That'll be a fun matchup. That game on Thursday, Gonzaga, San Francisco, and Friday, Dayton at Loyola Chicago are maybe the two most fun games that you can tune into this week. Fully convince everyone to check those out. That's it. That's going to be a show. Thanks for making Bracket Science your choice for your college basketball podcast, getting your information until March from us. Before I lose you, remember to vote in the poll below. Vote who you think the fourth number one seed will end up being. While you're down there, smash the like button, subscribe. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. Now, we're going to be back on Saturday morning. We'll release an early Saturday morning podcast to discuss all these results, some of the fun matchups. Then we'll provide you with the weekend outlook. We got another just loaded Saturday, as every week seems to be now. Next time I talk to you, it'll be March. It'll officially be March Madness. I'm very excited. Hopefully everyone else is excited. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone have a great rest of their week. See you later. See you Saturday.